Bear with me folks, we'll get to the tent review in a minute, but this new area I've been exploring the last few weeks, it just keeps throwing up surprises. Check this out. Wow, check this. Don't know what that is. It looks like it's some kind of trailer, but the fact it's got pipe work coming out the front of it, I'm not sure what that was for. Is that not just incredible? This is one very old vehicle. Very old. I'm absolutely melting. Okay, let's go through the new tent I got for the winter. But because of everything that's going on, and including last year where I had to work away from home, it's basically 2 Scottish winters I have missed camping in the snow. And yeah, I was really looking forward to it. Now, many of you may know that I decided to sell my Duomid. The reason I decided to do that was because I didn't find it very photogenic, and I did contact Mountain Laurel Designs and asked them, can you make one in grey DCF Dyneema fabric, and they said no. And the only other issue I had with the tent was that I would have liked a double zip, purely because if you want to just peek out and see what the weather's like, you had to reach way out to the front and unzip the whole door. Why on earth couldn't they put a double zip? And that way you could open the top, have a look out, but there you go. Now, from the photogenic point of view, the camouflage material it didn't work well in photographs. And that's where I decided to go back to a tent I know well, and you got it in a specific colour, which was orange, and it's the MSR Access 2. Now, I have had many of these tents. I've had the Access 2 and I've had the MSR Access 1 a couple of times as well, and I really rate them. Many of you are going to say you do not like the pitch first inner, but there's benefits to it, so hold fire and I'll explain to you why it's maybe a good thing to have that rather than an all-in-one kind of system. Setting up this tent is just really easy. It really is, once you've done it a couple of times. Now, if you imagine that it's raining at the moment, then you just make sure that all this kind of stuff, the poles and everything's ready before you kind of unpack the tent itself. Now, another thing that I do is I actually spray water repellent onto the inner tent just to make sure that it helps to keep the rain off. There we go. Flysheet. And as I said, this was the reason I got it, because of this. It doesn't get much more orange. Another thing about the MSR Access 2 is it really doesn't matter which end goes on, because there's a door on either side. The MSR Access 1, you've got to make sure the fly sheet's the right way round. The fly sheet has these kind of tabs that also go into where the pole is, and you just loop it on and pull it tight. So there you have it, the MSR Access 2. I've owned several of these and I've not had one in orange. I mean, I think I need to get sunglasses. Wow, it certainly stands out, which for the winter is exactly what I was wanting. I've seen other people taking photographs on the summits using this tent. It looks amazing, it looks a beautiful photograph if you're into the mountain photography like that. So that was the reason why I wanted it. It's a great all-round tent as well for backpacking for 2 people. My wife and I have used the MSR Access 2 for the TGO challenge, which was a walk coast to coast from Oban to Montrose across Scotland. Great tent, never had an issue with it. And it's 1.6 kilograms kind of base weight. It's not a heavy tent for what you get. Now you do have to do some modifications to it in regards to extra guy lines, which I have bought and changed out, just to give it that little bit more strength in windy weather. Now, the reason why I would also prefer this over the Access 1, and it's because of the 2 sloping vestibules. One, it helps with the wind. You'll notice that because of that large steep side on the Access 1, yeah, the wind really just kind of hits it like a sail. It's not the greatest in that regard. You have to watch how you pitch your tent. And it's going to be a good test for this MSR Access 1. Hopefully it's still going to be standing over the next few hours, let alone the morning. I'm just bracing it now and again because the gusts are coming, even though I've kind of sheltered the tent with this rock formation on my left hand side or your right hand side. The gusts coming over the top of it are still quite brutal at times. You can hear it coming like an express train, and when it's really quite bad I do just brace this side pole here just to try and take the strain off the tent. I find that this is a lot better because of the sloping sides. It also gives you extra space in the winter for storing equipment and a lot more admin room inside. I just think it's a really good all-round tent that's not too heavy. And when you look at the price of some of the other tents out there, such as the Hilleberg Solo, it's just frightening the cost that they're getting to. Now I think this one comes in around about £500 now, or £550, so it's still not a cheap investment, but a good tent. One of the things I do like about this, and it's what I mentioned about with the Geomid or a lot of tents, is at least this has a double opening, so you can open up the top and have a look out. Helps with a bit of ventilation as well if required. I just find it really handy. The actual access to the Access is good. You've got the roll back doors on both sides, and even the tie backs here are quite good and fairly easy to use, even with gloves on. You've got this door here with a little bit of mesh at the top, and again this just kind of ties back. But excellent access and ventilation into and out of the tent on both sides. It's handy if you're camping with somebody else and they need to go to the bathroom and not climbing over you to get out. Really handy. There's plenty of room inside here. It's really good. 2 people can camp comfortably, have one side each for your equipment. As I said, it's cosy, but if you're with your wife for that, perfect. What I do really like though is the pole system, because it holds the inner tent taut. You don't have all this sagging inner tent flapping about close to your face. It just gives it a little bit of, just makes it feel that much more spacious because of that. Another feature I love, and not many tents have it, is this pocket that runs along the back. You can put your phone in here and stuff and it's not going to fall out. most tents I've used, you know, they'll have a little triangular angled pocket near the door. Useless, absolutely useless. Put your phone in it, it's no good. It really is no good. This is just fantastic, and I don't know why more tent manufacturers don't do that with their inner tent, that kind of setup, because it does work really well. Now there is only a couple of little bits of mesh here for ventilation, but it means that the main solid fabric, it keeps the wind off when it's really blowing a hoolie, especially in the winter. It just keeps the temperature in here really stable. You've not got the kind of drafts blowing through over your sleeping bag. You've also got some tie-off points at the top for putting a drying line if you want. But yeah, great all-round tent, it really is. In regards to the guy lines, I have replaced them all because I felt the ones that come with it aren't quite long enough. So I've replaced them all with some orange Dyneema, and I think I've added an extra 4 as well, just to give it that extra bit stability. Now you've got one on the end here, but you've also got a loop at the bottom. I normally add a bit of shock cord to this just to pull this out as well, just to help give it a little bit more strength and help with the buffeting of the wind. There's these 2 side ones, or 4, there's basically 4 all the way around. I've added a guy line to as well. So if I'm using one particular side, I can really brace out the other side. So if I was coming in the door on the back here, I would have these braced out just to give that a little bit more strength. And you also have the ones at the top of the apex as well. Once they're all in the ground, it really does hold well in stormy weather. Imagine I am breaking camp the next morning and the tent is very wet. This is where I think it's beneficial to have this kind of system with the outer and inner separate, because what I would do is take the fly sheet off, put that in the mesh on the outside of my rucksack or in another stuff sack so it's separated. Then when I pack up the inner, I can put that in another dry bag or storage bag and put that inside my rucksack. Breaking the tent down at the end of a camp is quick as well with the clips. It really is. It doesn't take long at all. I've heard of people having issues with the poles breaking, and I've never had an issue yet, to be honest. And all the times I've owned MSR tents, just be very careful with them and I think you'll be fine. So what's the benefit of separating them out? If you've got an all-in-one pitch and the inner tent's dry, but the outer is absolutely soaking, when you roll that tent up and put it into your stuff sack or storage pouch, it's going to soak the inner tent. So when you get to your new camp spot, if you're on a multi-day trek, you open it up, the inner's wringing and wet. I just think it's actually quite a good way of camping and having them separated out. I don't have an issue with that. You really shouldn't. I've been out for multiple years using Access tents and never had an issue in the rain or wet weather. I just haven't. Doesn't mean you won't, or you might not have a bad time. I just haven't experienced it, and I think it's quite a good setup. Maybe one of the downsides is the fact that you do have a lot of poles to deal with at the end of the day. Yeah, it's not too bad considering, and they're fairly light, which is a bonus. Again, it just takes a bit of practice with them, and I've been fine. Just stuff all this away at the moment. If both were dry, I just use a stuff sack like this Exped 1, it's just an ultralight sill nylon stuff sack. Not entirely sure where I got it. I just put everything into that and then just squeeze all the air out. It's actually got these draw cords on the side, so I can just cinch it down a bit. A little look at MSR Access 2, a great tent, excellent for multi-day hikes, excellent for 2 people backpacking because you could share the weight. Somebody could take the poles and the inner, somebody takes the fly sheet. A really lightweight setup then if there's 2 of you. It's been great to get out again, show you this tent, and stay tuned because I've got 3 other tents, 3 to show you. 1 that I might use on the Cape Wrath again, and 2 I've been sent to look at, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.